Hello everyone, I will talk about internetwork communication in this lesson. This first section will help you understand how networks are connected to each other and how to communicate between networks using Cisco routers and switches. When we connect two or more LANs or WANs through a router and create a logical network addressing plan with a protocol such as IP, we create a network community. Now let's look at the basics of internetwork communication. Networking has grown rapidly over the past 30 to 35 years, starting with basic user needs such as data and printer sharing, but now there have been rapid developments in our networks to meet needs such as video conferencing, video sharing, and movie viewing platforms. Considering that nowadays the people who need to share network resources are no longer in the same office environment, what needs to be done is to connect multiple networks so that all users can use these network resources. In large networks, we may have to divide them into smaller networks to reduce user response time according to the need, because the network will get heavier as it grows. With all this growth, the congestion in the LAN will be very high. The solution to this is to divide the really big networks, called network segmentation, into smaller networks, and we can do this by using devices such as routers and switches. The figure here shows an example of a simple network connection for home users. Let's take a look at the main causes of congestion in our network. Congestion can occur in our network due to reasons such as having a large number of users in a broadcast domain, broadcast storm, multicasting, low bandwidth, adding a hub to connect to the network, a heavy ARP traffic. Today, routers are used to route data packets from one network to another to connect networks together. There are two advantages to using routers on our network. The first is that they do not route broadcasts by default, and the second is that they can also filter packets with layer 3 information, such as IP address. The routers we use in our network have four main functions. The first function is to make packet switching, the second function is to filter the packet, the third function is to ensure internetwork communication, and the fourth function is to make the path selection. Layer 2 switches switch packets using frame packets, while routers, unlike layer 2 switches, switch packets using logical addressing in layer 3. Routers can also provide packet filtering using access lists. Routers use logical addressing IP version 4 or IP version 6 to connect two or more networks. This entity is called a collection of networks, and finally, routers use a routing table to choose routes and route packets to remote networks. Unlike routers, switches are not used to create a network community, but to add functionality to a network. The main task of a switch is to make the local area network work better by providing LAN users with higher bandwidth and increasing their performance. Switches do not route packets to other networks as routers do, instead they transmit packets by switching from one port to another. The figure here shows an example of a simple corporate network connection. Here we have a corporate network, here we have access point and wireless clients. We provide access to these clients through access point. In this tutorial, we talked about what router and switch do in a network. Layer 2, Layer 3, multicast, ARP and broadcast are among the topics we mentioned here. You will learn all of these terms one by one when the topics come up. What we are going to focus on here is what are the main functions of the router and switch, which I tried to explain in this lesson. Goodbye to see you in our next lesson.